folks, welcome ye all to yet another vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. There was no vlog last week, as you will notice from the tumbleweed floating through the channel. There's not been anything going on, not even a vlog last week. I did post up a little poll last week, which I might actually try and remember to check at some point in this particular vlog. So I have been taking a little bit of is it a hiatus? Should we call it a hiatus? Or a break or a little holiday from the channel for the last couple of weeks. And to be honest, I hadn't really planned to take a break from doing a vlog or anything. It was just the amount of hours I was recording gameplaying had just, I think, done me in a little bit. And in combination with just being constantly isolated, I live on my own, so I'm sitting working at a desk upstairs all day on my own. Then I come down and do loads of recording with nothing else on, because like if I was recording on my own, I would generally have, I can have the football on silently beside me, of course, but if I was gaming on my own, I could have something else in the background as company, or that sort of stuff with a bit of noise. But just in general, it's just been very, I hadn't really realized how much it was getting to me until a couple of weeks back, and I was just like, I can't sit there and just and just keep recording this stuff. It was like I just needed a break, and that's basically all it came from. It's really just my mental well-being. So again, it was really just that. It wasn't necessarily the vlogs as such, but I was enjoying the break last week. It got to the Friday, there wasn't a huge amount of topic-wise to talk about anyway, and I just continued on my little break. So it got to today. I hadn't actually planned to do a vlog today either, but there was a couple of bits of news popped up, and I went for my run at lunchtime today and came back feeling pretty upbeat and stuff. And just in general, I just had the feeling that I might want to do a vlog, especially with the bits of news. There's actually Aaron Brew that knocked the stories my way that popped up today, and I've thrown a couple of other bits on my list of things that I thought would be interesting to talk about. But in general, this is just going to be a little bit of a channel update, I guess, and just me talking about the break that I've been having and life. But there will be some gaming news in a little bit, people. We're going to be talking about, well, will I tell you now or will I wait? What I will do is say flagons up to you all. Flagons up to you all. I'll have a sip of this, will I? Oh, that is nice, people. I'd share it if I could. I would. You know this, people. You know what kind of guy I am. You know what I mean? Right. Well, there were a couple of bits of news that popped out. However, I've been on this break of mine, and instead of gaming, I haven't gamed at all. I've done no gaming for the last 2 weeks. I did go on, the only time I turned the consoles on was to go and see what the sales were like for Easter, of which there was some really good deals and stuff, but I'm just like, there's so many games that I've got that I haven't finished, or some that I haven't even started. And I thought, it's not really, the next big one for me is going to be Mass Effect Trilogy, probably. And we had a poll at some point not that long ago. I'm going to put Mass Effect here, so I might talk about it a bit more later. So I think we're a month away from Mass Effect still. But anyway, I haven't done any gaming whatsoever, and the only time I turned them on was to look at the deals and stuff. And there was some good ones there. I just didn't see the point in buying anything, and I thought, well, if I am going to buy something at any point soon, it might as well be Mass Effect Trilogy, which is in a month's time or so. Which will be, to be fair to it, it's at $49.95 or whatever it is on the shops that I look at. Weirdly, you go on to Shop 2, you can't even find it for console. You can find it for PC, but you search for it on Shop 2, there's nothing there for Mass Effect Trilogy. So, but if you go to Simply Games or Games Collection, the Games Collection, they've got them on there for $49.95 or $49.99, whichever. So £50 basically, which, to be fair, for 3 full games and all the DLCs, is a pretty decent price. I'm not going to grumble at that. My grumble generally comes for 50 quid for one game. I still think that, in fact, they're more expensive than that when you go for it's 70 quid now for the first party ones, like Demon Souls. It's just ridiculous amounts of money. It really is. And I think like the more that goes on, the more that Games Pass is going to become more and more something that people want to tap into. And I think PlayStation will definitely start bleeding customers in a pretty massive way if they keep doing what they're doing with Games Pass, because they are, without any shadow of a doubt, absolutely hammering that thing at the minute. I mean, they've got like big titles hitting it on day one. Outriders, nobody expected that to go straight to Games Pass on day one, and that was a massive title. All your PlayStation players have got to go and buy it for 50, 60 quid, whatever it is. If you've got Games Pass, you've got it for nothing. You've got it on Games Pass. How long it stays there is another story, but, you know, if you love it that much, you'll maybe get to buy it at a discounted price or something like that. So, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And then MLB, Major League Baseball, that's just hit it, or is hitting it for the Games Pass for nothing. And that, apparently that used to be a PlayStation exclusive way back in the day. So that's now on the Games Pass as well. You've got to buy it over at the PlayStation. I mean, at those sort of games prices, I mean, I'm going way off track of what I was meant to talk about at this point, but at those sort of games prices, people are absolutely going to start going, hang on a minute, if I buy an Xbox Series S or X, I can have Games Pass for, you know, Ultimate for £11 a month, and have all of these titles for nothing, you know, effectively, you know what I mean? And I'm going to get all of their first party ones, which, you know, Halo's coming, you know, this holiday, and then you've got all of the other studios that are going to start spitting stuff out, including Bethesda. You've got all the Bethesda titles now. I mean, it's just insanity how much stuff's on there now. And it's just going to get nothing but stronger and stronger. So it's really, really, really impressive. Even the Elder Scrolls Online is on there. Again, I'm going to apologise for the lighting, people. There's nothing I can do. The studio is surrounded by sunlight, dipping and changing. Studio, my living room, you know. So anyway. So, yeah, I mean, my break, just rewinding slightly, my break has been really just binge watching things that I wanted to watch. I'm trying to think of what I binge watched on. The Irregulars. I binge watched The Irregulars on Netflix and got through that. I watched a few movies on there, and then at the beginning of this week I signed up to Disney Plus for the very first time. I kept putting it off because there's all of these other Star Wars things coming to it. We've got a Boba Fett thing coming. We've got a Obi-Wan Kenobi series coming. We've got a prequel series coming for Rogue One with the same guy in it. So there's so much Star Wars content coming in series to Disney. I thought, well, I might as well wait until there's a bit more there. But in the end, I've kind of caved in for probably Mandalorian and WandaVision, because they've both had such good reviews and stuff. And I wanted to tap into Clone Wars because I've never seen any of the Clone Wars, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go once I've watched Mandalorian, that sort of thing. So and it's a great service, that Disney Plus. It really is. I think it was $7.99 or something for a month, and you don't have to, you know, just cancel it if you don't want to keep it for the following month. So basically, I binge watched the whole of the Mandalorian this week, both seasons, because they're only, I think, from what I could tell, certainly on the second series, the first episode was about an hour, the last episode was about an hour, but everything in between was about half an hour an episode. So it wasn't as long as you think it is. So 5 hours, maybe 5 hour, half hours would get you through an entire series. So yeah, I basically binge watched the whole of the first 2 seasons. I've got to say, it was absolutely brilliant. I have to say this though, if you do start watching it, don't be surprised if you don't quite click with it in the first episode. In the first episode, I wasn't quite connecting with it. I'm not sure why. I'll tell you for why. It might be because one thing I've left out is that before watching that, I then binge watched, because when I signed up to Disney Plus, I realised that the final seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I still hadn't seen, was also on there. So I binge watched that first before binge watching Mandalorian. So I've binge watched a lot of TV this week after finishing my day jobs. And that's basically all I've been doing. I've just been that, you know, I've been working through the day, doing my lunchtime runs, having me dinner, binge watching telly, just letting me mind just be free of anything really. So, and you can argue that, well, is that not the same as just sitting with a game? Well, it is if you're gaming off camera, but if you're, well, I say off camera or off mic in my case, most of the time, it kind of is. But remember, like me sitting talking into a microphone and recording a game at the same time, it's not, I mean, I find it enjoyable most of the time, but it isn't effortless, because with every hour that I play, I then have to stick the intros, outros on, render it all together, post it all up, type in all the details. There's a whole bunch of work that comes with it. And not only is it very isolating to sit on your own constantly like that, it's also a lot of work then at the other end of it to put it up. And if you're in the right frame of mind, it's fine. I don't mind doing it. But when you start to struggle a little bit, sometimes it's nice just to step back and say, well, I don't have to worry about all that faff. I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to binge watch all of this stuff that I've been wanting to see. And tonight I'm going to... sorry, before I go on to that. It might have been that because I came off the back end of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and went straight into the Mandalorian, I just wasn't... it was like moving from one genre into a completely different one. So it could have been that, but I didn't quite click with it until... Well, the first time I clicked with it was in the last 10 minutes of the first episode. And after that got me kind of hooked as to, all right, okay, there's some stuff in here I'm enjoying, and the story's now got me interested. And then it just picked up pace from there and got better and better. And season 2 was just fantastic. I mean, I don't know, it seemed like they threw a shit ton more cash at season 2. I mean, it still looks great in season 1, but it just felt like it opened up a lot in season 2. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Everything was just grander, like when they did something, they did it on a very grand scale. So it just felt like that. It just felt like they got, first season was so popular, let's give it some more money. And so hopefully that continues. Season 3 is definitely coming. I believe it's coming around Christmas time this year, 2021. And then we've got all sorts of stuff spinning off the back of it, not off the back of it necessarily, but you've got I've said before, the Ben Kenobi one, you've got the Boba Fett one, and you've got the Rogue One prequel, and there'll be more. There'll be more that they want to throw into the mix. So there's going to be loads of Star Wars series content coming up, which is fantastic. So yeah, and tonight I'm going to be recording this, and then I'm going to sit just out there where I can look into the garden. It's a beautiful day today. It's a little bit chilly. It's about 8 degrees or something outside. But I'm still going to sit with the sun shining through the window with the door open and edit this together for you guys and post it up. And then once I've done that and the sun goes down, I shall crack into the Raws and SmackDowns that I've still got to watch before WrestleMania starts tomorrow, strangely enough, because they've now decided they want to do WrestleMania over 2 days. It's like, what are they about? You know what I mean? Stop back. It's almost as bad as when they decided to split the bloody X. I've not watched X Factor in years, but like X Factor results on a Sunday instead of on the same bloody night, or strictly on the same bloody night as separate night for the results. And even though they record it all on the same bloody night, it's just like, stop milking it. Just the problem is, like, how do you fill the hype if you do that next year with WrestleMania? Like, it means that people aren't going to see the whole thing necessarily, because they're then going to ask people, I assume, to buy 2 tickets. They must do, surely. I mean, surely that's the point. Surely the point is that they're going to ask people to pay twice for a ticket for each day. Which is not what you want, is it? At all. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Maybe they haven't. Maybe I need to take that back. Maybe they've only sold 1 ticket and it gets you into both days. That's fine, but... It just kind of, if it's a case of that, if it's like 1 ticket for two days, for the people turning up I'm talking about, it doesn't matter to me because I'm watching it on the WWE Network. But, if that's what it is, if you buy 1 ticket, you get 2 days worth of action, and it means they can put more fights on, then that's great for the wrestlers themselves because more of them get a shot at the big stage, and we get more to watch, so, fair praise to it if it's that case. But something inside me tells me that they're asking people to pay more because it's 2 days or 2 tickets for 2 days. But someone could correct me in the comments below if there is indeed anybody who watches wrestling and WrestleMania watching this video. I assume because, us gamers tend to like similar things, like like sci-fi, movie, TV stuff, games, wrestling, all the geeky, nerdy type stuff that that we do like. You know what I mean? I've just loved the wrestling ever since the Attitude Era when I first got into it. I mean, it's never reached those heights again, obviously, but I still enjoy it. Especially WWE. I've been watching a bit of AEW, and the inner circle stuff with AEW is great. I struggle with all the other stuff though to connect with any of the. I don't know if just now it's just that there's no audience and stuff. WWE have done a really good job of filling their stadium with all those TV screens and fans watching and stuff. They don't have that in AEW, so it's just kind of people that I assume that are the wrestlers and work at AEW that are filling that little bit of people that are surrounding it. But it's missing a bit of oomph. But I love the inner circle stuff for Chris Jericho. He's a legend, that man. He really is. He's still fantastic at it. But anyway, so that's been what I've been up to, really. I've just been letting my mind just be free of any, like, outside of work, day job, just being free of anything to think about, and just, and watching the football. I've been watching the football as well because I've got the BT Sport and I've got the Sky Sport, and so, so I'll continue to do that. I still don't know when I'm going to come back to recording for you guys at the moment, but I will, if there's stuff to talk about and I'm up for a Friday vlog, then I'll still continue to do that for the time being. And then I'll just wait for my psyche to be back into wanting to record some stuff for you guys. I'm not overly sure what I'll do with the recording when I do come back. Skyrim, I still want to see that through because I was having a really good time with it. Fallout 4, we just kind of got back into. I want to continue with the Phoenix Rising, but it really is getting to a point with that game now where there's so few people interested in it at this point to see a full playthrough that I know that it's going to let some core fans down. I get it, I do, but I think it's doing the channel more harm than good by putting it up. And you can tell, like, here's a funny thing, right? In the last 2 weeks that I haven't posted anything up, I've gained more subscriptions than I have in God knows how many weeks before that. Because what was happening was I was posting the stuff up regularly, and then all of a sudden I would just start losing people. Then I would pick people up, and it was like this never-ending balance of scales. And I just kept hovering at the same point. So I was losing people and picking up people and losing. I've never actually gone down, so far as I always end up further than I was. But without any shadow of a doubt, I was losing people because I'm putting videos up that clearly people don't want to see. Clearly a lot of people don't want to see. And I can't say that for Skyrim and Fallout because they're all, most of those, if not all of those, I think have ended up at well over 100 views-ish. So, and if I can kind of keep that momentum going on a video watch, on a Let's Play watch, then I think that's what I should be aiming for. I think trying to keep people happy sounds awful. I don't mean it like that. But in order to keep some of the core fans happy, by putting up something that just isn't getting watched by a lot of people, it's actually doing doing a lot of damage to the channel. And I think I might have to bow out of Immortals Phoenix Rising on camera and just continue that game off camera and replace it with something else that I think people will want to watch. That's a bit more core RPG. I mean, I think that's a fantastic RPG. I just don't think clearly it's something that people want to watch a lot of that are in my demographic of subscribers. So I think I'll have to bow out of that one, and I'm bordering on Dark Souls 3 and picking that back up again from where we left off on the PlayStation 5. So we'll see how we go, because that in itself is a lot harder work. But I was kind of hoping that something like one of the Divinity games or one of the big RPGs outside of what we've got would get an update for 60 FPS, and then we could do a new Let's Play of that at the new 60 FPS and let people see it playing and what have you. That would be nice to see. And it would be nice to get the Series X back into the swing. We have done that with... Yeah, we've done it with Fallout. So we've got we've got Skyrim happening on the PlayStation 5. We've got Fallout 4 happening on the Series X. So there is something happening on both. But anyway, I'll chew it all over while I'm not really thinking about the channel that much. But I will have it in the back of my mind to think about what I might want to throw up next. I mean, it could be that some of you want to see me do, Mass Effect 1 or something when it comes out, the remaster. So now that is apparently now I'm finding it very hard anywhere to see it say that Mass Effect on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, I haven't decided which one to get it for yet, is actually 60 frames per second. I saw an article saying it was, but everywhere I've looked and everything I've heard since has said that there is a performance mode that benefits better frame rates or more stable frame rates, or there's a 4K one. It doesn't specifically say that it's targeting 60 FPS. I couldn't find anything that actually said that, even on the BioWare site. So I'm holding out to see, hopefully see Digital Foundry or somebody, but Digital Foundry mainly, give us a, well, hopefully they'll get an early copy and they'll be able to tell us before we have to buy it as to whether or not that's the case, because I'm reluctant to go out and buy a trilogy that's still at 30 FPS. I don't want to play them at 30 FPS again. It's not great. Can't be doing with it. Now that I'm used to playing games at 60 FPS, I find it nigh on impossible to go back to 30. It just my eyes are just like, that's just awful. How on earth have I been playing that all this time? I've been spoiled now, you see, people. I mean, I know a lot of you don't have PS5s and Xbox Series X's yet, but wait, when you get them and you start playing games, don't even bother going for 4K. Like, go for this frame rate every time. Go for 60 FPS. Because I'm telling you, the visual clarity is far better than playing it at 4K. Far better. I mean, it's alright if you're standing still, it'll look great in 4K, but the minute you start panning around, it's just a different world when you hit 60 FPS. It's just incredible. I've gone on about this already in previous vlogs. I'm going on about it again, but it's just gorgeous. And going back to games now at 30 is just, So I want to see somebody tell me that the Mass Effect Trilogy plays at 60 FPS, or with the odd dip maybe here and there, but it does play at 60 FPS. Would be nice. I've lost all track of where I was, people. Oh yeah, we were just talking about what I might play and stuff. So anyway, I don't know when I'll be back for the actual playthrough stuff at the moment. I just need this break. I mean, it is important to step back when you feel that way. I've always been that way, and you guys have seen it before. And I've joked about it sometimes when I've paused in playing for a couple of days. But there are times when I just need to step back. It's not like, if you're feeling like it's getting you down, anything, not just, this sort of stuff, step away from it and do something else. Let your mind get onto something that it wants to do that makes you happy, anything at all that's just going to, I mean, for me, the weather's been turning nicer as well. So just being out and about, like, one weekend ago, the Easter weekend, I went up to the big B&Q and I got a gardener. I spent loads of money on gardening stuff. I wanted to sort the garden out this year. I spent at least, there was a Wednesday night, I spent 2.5 hours out there, sort of just getting the grass cut, getting the first bit for the year done. And then when I went up to the B&Q the Friday, I think it was, during the day, because it was off that day because it was Easter Friday, bought a whole bunch of gardening stuff, and then I laid into it, and it wasn't the same day, was it? God, I lost all track of what days what happened. But anyway, last week I did this massive gutting of the garden, and it was really hard work, but it was great. It was about 4.5 hours. I kid you not. Like, it took me 3 or 4 days to be able to actually move properly again. It was like the best workout I'd had in ages. Even though I can run 8.4K 4 times a week, like, that is different. Like, doing, literally, I felt like I'd done 1,000 squats. It's like I probably had done more. And, I was constantly hammering the fork in to turn the soil over. It was a really, really big graft. I was absolutely aching for days afterwards, but it was great. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, though. It was just the stuff you need. If you're ever in a position where you're feeling really down and dark, and one of the best things you can do is go outside, even if you're not with other people. Like, just outside in the fresh air, in the sunshine. Just get out, get air in your lungs, get a walk in, get endorphins moving in your, released in your brain, which happens when you exercise. And even if it's a walk, you'll get that. So, yeah, so that's basically, it's just stuff like that. And I think it's important, like, if you start feeling that way, you've got to do something about it. Like, if I just sat there, kept recording, you guys would have heard it. You might have heard it in the later episodes that I was recording, that I was starting to really struggle with, keeping the humour up and the excitement and stuff up for the game, which is the last thing you need. The last thing you need is someone talking over a game who's bored shitless or feeling depressed. Nobody wants that, people. You know what I mean? Just constantly throwing myself off of the top of Geverga bloody assembly plant or something. Anyway, so there you are. So that's what I've been up to. I will, of course, let you know the minute things are... Well, you'll know the minute I start recording again, it'll start popping up there. But let me know in the comments below just about all of that, if you're disappointed that you're not seeing stuff, or if you don't, if you're happy for me to be having this break, or what you would like to see me play when I come back, or if you're disappointed that I'm not going to be doing Immortals anymore. But I think it's a sensible thing to do. From a channel perspective, it's just... I think the last part of Immortals I put up got 23 views. It's just not... It's not doing the channel any good at all to have something that's doing 23 views on a daily basis. And that's usually when I put the cut to a Let's Play, is when the viewing figures go right down. I just know people have lost interest and I just start doing something else. And that's why very few of my Let's Plays see it all the way through, because there are certain people that people will watch to the end of a game. Usually they're very hot and young, usually. And there are people that they just like to see them play a bit of that game for a while and then they kind of go off the boil with it. That's fine, I don't mind. But I'd just rather move on to something else. It was a bit of a shame with Immortals because I was enjoying it so much. But I can do it off camera. It'll give me something to play off camera. And once I've made that decision to do it off camera, it means I can hammer that game and just get through it. So, and enjoy it for what it is. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll firmly say that I'm not going to do any Immortals Phoenix Rising on the channel now. And when I do get back to it and back recording, I'll definitely be taking Skyrim forward, probably Fallout 4, and we'll see how they keep going. They never seem to lose their interest levels, especially with the FPS boost and stuff hitting Fallout 4 and stuff like that. So that was playing so beautifully at 1080p. I just wish they would have maybe try to do it at 1440p or just a bit higher than 1080p. I wouldn't have minded it even being a little bit sticky in the bad places if it was just that little bit, a little bit better. It is gorgeous though, and I have always said I'd rather have 1080p and a smooth 60 FPS, so, I will take that. I'm not going to moan about it. But I still feel like that game could run at 1440p if Bethesda did a proper patch rather than just relying on that FPS boost. But it was still stunning to play though. It's fantastic. But there are little places you can kind of think that might have looked a bit sharper previously, But it still looks great though. 1080p at 60 FPS, Christ, we would have killed for that last gen. You know what I mean? Killed for it. Don't think we got barely anything at 60 FPS last gen. There was a few, but nothing on that kind of scale. Certainly not an open world RPG at 60 FPS at 1080p. I mean, I remember when those first consoles came out, and in fact, we only got that. Anything that was 60 FPS was only on the mid-gen upgrades, the Pro and the Xbox One X. You certainly didn't get it at the base console. So if we hadn't got those mid-gen upgrades, the base consoles were never doing 60 FPS. So someone will probably correct me now, but they certainly wouldn't be. If they were, there'd be very few and far between. But, I mean, Christ, the base Xbox could only do bloody 900p half the time, even at 30 frames per second. And the PlayStation 5, I think PlayStation 4 pushed out... I think predominantly it did get to 1080p at 30 frames per second, I think. But I think there was certain games that it had to come down for. But I think it did manage to hit 1080p most of the time. But the most of the base Xbox could do was 900. Most of the time, even at launch. It looked great, at the time. I mean, even like things like Rise Son of Rome, which was a stunning looking game, but it was at 900p, which is as high as it could go. Not enough power, people, not enough power. Not even talked about the proper gaming stuff yet, have we? So, I shall let you know when I get my frame of mind back to be doing lots of Let's Play type stuff for you. The Last of Us... Well, yeah, okay, well, how will I do this? I might just read the article out. We're already half an hour in anyway. So, there was a couple of bits of news on The Last of Us and Days Gone and so on and so forth. So, let's just go to the article that we got it from. This is coming from an article from IGN, so tip the hat to them. And it's also, but their article in and itself is coming from Bloomberg, I think. So, the heading is The Last of Us Remake reportedly in development, and Days Gone 2 pitch rejected. So, I think I'll just read through it actually. Sony Studios are reportedly working on a remake of The Last of Us, while Sony Bend begins work on a new game after an unsuccessful 2019 pitch to make Days Gone 2. In a new Bloomberg report into dissatisfaction amongst Sony lesser-known studios, sources say that a Last of Us remake, codenamed T1X, was started by Michael Mumbauer, the founder of Visual Arts Service Group, a Sony developer that traditionally assists development on PlayStation Studio games. Mumbauer apparently assembled a new 30-strong development group and, after passing on the idea of a remake of the first Uncharted game, settled on a remake of the 2013's The Last of Us. However, the team reportedly ran into trouble after Sony kept their existence a secret and refused to offer extra budget. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst apparently deemed the project too expensive, and Mumbauer's team was moved to support the development of The Last of Us 2. Bloomberg sources say that after The Last of Us 2 was completed, Sony moved multiple Naughty Dog developers into T1X project, and the remake effectively became a Naughty Dog project. Mumbauer and the original developers have now left, and other original developers have now left the company, but development on the remake is apparently continuing. As part of the same report, Bloomberg says that Sony Bend pitched a sequel to Days Gone after the game's release in 2019, but was rejected. Sony then apparently moved Bend developers onto two Naughty Dog projects, a multiplayer game, presumably the standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, and a new Uncharted project, which has also been rumoured recently. Some Bend staff reportedly left as a result of having their autonomy taken away, and leadership allegedly complained to Sony and asked to be moved off of the Uncharted project. Sony Bend is now apparently working on a new original game, but it's not clear if this is Days Gone 2, a brand new game, or a return to another back catalogue game. There's an update at the bottom. Eurogamer reports that its sources claim a Sony Bend developed Uncharted game was planned to be a new chapter for the series, possibly a prequel, and was intended as something of a reboot for the series. It's unclear if those plans have persisted, with Bend off the project. There had been... Oh, shit. An email came in and popped me off another page. There have been many rumours about the new Sony team in San Diego, led by Mumbauer, with many assuming that it was working on a new Uncharted game after it said it was developing in an existing franchise. However, it seems that referred to The Last of Us, with Uncharted's future seemingly remaining under Naughty Dog's control. The timing for a remake of The Last of Us feels appropriate given the HBO series. Yeah, I suppose that's right. Coming to TV with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Right, well, there you go. So, a couple of things there. For me, I'm going to take these old man glasses off again. Let's get my notes back. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to Uncharted, I was one of those people, well, anyone who's been watching me vlogs and podcasts and what have you. In fact, the very first ever podcast, I think, was The Last of Us Part 2 podcast about my feelings on playing the game, the hoo-ha that surrounded it, what I ended up feeling about it, and all that sort of stuff. Now, much as though I think that The Last of Us Part 2 is a great game, it isn't a game I want to play necessarily more than once. I will play it again simply because I want the trophies and I want to experience it at 60 FPS. So the minute we get a patch for it or a new gen update for it to give us 60 FPS, I want to play that game again. It's beautiful. I want to see the story again. But it was depressing as fucking hell. And much as though the first game is set in the same world with similar troubles and such like, that game didn't make me feel depressed. It kind of made it uplifted me with the relationship between the two of them, the humor between, with Ellie and what she was doing with the, the joke book and her humor and the whole thing. I mean, it was tense, but it was tense satisfying and tense satisfying and story satisfying. And the minute, I mean, The Last of Us Part 2 just went so dark and so, I don't know. I mean, it just went to a place where I really, my mind's like, I don't want to, I want to sit and enjoy a game. That isn't something that I would put the word enjoy against. And when I say enjoy, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that you know what I mean. You feel depressed rather than enjoying playing a game half the time. There are sections in it that are really enjoyable to play, and a lot of those areas are actually Abby's areas. Abby gets the best infected sections in that game. They're absolutely brilliant. There was some sections of that game I just adored, but as a whole story arc, and then not that I want to give away I don't want to give away too much, but I'm going to try not be spoilery here. I don't think I've said anything thus far, have I, that was spoilery? But, well, other than you obviously play as Abby. But when I finished The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, I immediately went back into it and started it again. And, but A, for the trophies, and B, I just wanted to experience it again straight away. I didn't have that feeling with The Last of Us Part 2 because it was just so fucking depressing. I really didn't want to do it straight away. And plus, it was already in my head that if I wait for the PS5, I'll get a 60 FPS upgrade, which I'm still waiting for, and, I'll play it then. Because the trophies aren't that hard to get, and, I did actually start another playthrough of it when I got the PS5 just to see how it coped with it, how it ran. PS5 was deathly silent while it was playing it, like it is with all games. Whereas on the PS4 Pro, it was a bloody rocket taking off with fans. But I just wanted to see how it ran. And then the first thing that happened pretty much in the sort of, I suppose it's the first proper section with Ellie and her girlfriend that I'm forgetting the name of. There's a trophy basically for opening all of the safes, and the only safe I hadn't opened was the very first one in the game. So the minute I got there, it just went bling, and so I got that trophy. But there are other trophies that collectibles and stuff, I think, that I could be doing with. So I'd love to get the platinum for it, certainly, and I will try to achieve that when we get the 60 FPS boost. However, I think if they are looking at doing a remake of The Last of Us, I'm not. The last time I played that game on the PS4, the remaster of it, it still looked good, but you could see that it was quite dated at that point. Because you got to remember that was the last year of the PS3 that came out, and then it got remastered for the PS4 at some point down the road. I think it was a couple of years in, maybe something like that. But you could still see its age. Then you could see that it was built for a previous console. I mean, it looked great still. It did look like a leap up. But I think now that we're 2 generations on from where that game... I mean, what was it, 2013 or something, was it, that game came out? I would say that we'll probably... I mean, it seems odd to me that they want to remake it fully. But if what they're talking about is just... Because if the engine's okay, the physical motion engine and all that sort of stuff, if that's okay, then if you're just talking about plopping that... Well, having the brand new skins of The Last of Us Part 2 plopped on top of it, then maybe it's not as much work as it sounds. However, if they were talking in the article about needing more money, and then it's maybe not that simple. But also, if you do it as a remake, you can maybe then do all of the things that you're doing with Last of Us Part 2, which is going prone, going up, using height more when you're trying to figure out how to kill things, doing your dodge. It's possible that they might want to build all that into it and give it the same mechanic. And it's possible that in their mind, and the mindset is that they want to have a proper new gen The Last of Us Part 2, all on PS5. But then you say that, I mean, I'm saying that, but it's not PS5, is it? The Last of Us Part 2 is PS4. So I don't know. I don't know what the thinking behind that is. I mean, if they were already working on that remake during The Last of Us Part 2 being done, seems a little bit odd to me. I mean, it's a bit like, why would you not remake Uncharted then? You know what I mean? Why did The Last of Us suddenly float to the top of the list to be remade? Yeah, I don't know. If you look at things that are remade at the moment, they're very old, aren't they? You know, you're talking about Resident Evil originals and Resident Evil 2s and 3s. You're talking about, say, Final Fantasy 7. You know, Jesus, I mean, that's PS1. So, you know, I'm not sure that a remake is surprising. Mind you, that said, the remake on Demon Souls, you know, Demon Souls is a PS3 game. So I suppose it's not that odd, is it? Not really. But it was remade specifically for PS5, so that's 2 jumps forward. But you do a remake of The Last of Us, the first one, is it going to look better than The Last of Us Part 2? That'd be weird. But anyway, I personally, because I'll be very, very surprised if we don't get a Last of Us 3 on the PlayStation 5, built for the PlayStation 5. I think that game has to be a trilogy. I think, you know, without giving spoilers away, I think we can definitely see a lot more to that story going into a third part. And hopefully have something a bit more uplifting, you know, eventually happen. It's a dark world. It's always going to be a dark world, but, you know. So, you know, I'd love to see a third one anyway. And if they can have The Last of Us remade plus 2 with its patch for PS5 plus 3 made for PS5, you'll only have a really sweet, solid little trilogy there that it'll just keep selling for bloody donkey's years, won't it, that? Because the way games look now, you know, Jesus, I think anything from that was made for PS4 and certainly moving on to PS5, they're not ever going to look that bloody awful. You know, that they'll always look a little bit dated going forward because stuff just looks crisper and better. But I think the further we go forward, it's going to be more about the cutscenes already look like bloody movies half the time. The in-game characters, if you've played Demon Souls, you'll notice that the in-game characters, the faces and the lip movement, everything, it's like a bloody cutscene just in its own. This little person just sat there. And the main characters and stuff. So that sort of stuff's becoming a lot richer in the PS5. But I think, outside of that, we're talking really about performance over visual. I think, we're talking about more and more power to give us 4K with 60. I think we've reached a point realistically with these consoles where it's going to be 1440p at 60 once they start creaming these things. For the big games, for the stuff that's open world, all that sort of stuff, I think we can manage that. And then it's just going to keep, hammering that. The visuals will always get crisper and better, but I think in the main part, our biggest boost as gamers is going to be just how smoothly they play at 60 FPS with the best visuals they can give us. So they'll stand the test of time if they do a trilogy now that are all remade for, well, one remade for PS5, the other remade for... it's possible that remake might even come out on PS4 if it was started at the same time that the other one was and they paused it. They might not want to ignore all the PS4s out there for a remake of The Last of Us. It'd be a bit of a strange one, though, to have a remaster and then a remake on the same platform. Yeah, anyway. With regards to Days Gone 2... I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be that disappointed if we didn't get another Days Gone, but it did feel like a world that you could do far more in. I just don't know what a new experience would be, other than moving to a different area and having a new set of enemies and maybe some extra zombie type characters. I know they're not zombies, freakers or whatever they're called, but other than that, I don't know if there's enough interest in a world like that to just have another one. So you'd have to put a lot more into the actual mechanics, into the upgrade system, which, to be fair, it's pretty much what all of them do is trilogies, though, isn't it? You just try and make everything a little bit sweeter. It's a great game, by the way, Days Gone. Now that it's had all its patches and it plays it, I want to go back to it because it apparently plays at 60 FPS now on the PS5. So I'm surprised that Sony turned down a second one, but I don't think its sales were stupidly good. I think they were just kind of okay. So I guess I'm not that surprised that they didn't want to go for a second one. A little bit surprising that they tried to push all the Ben staff into other people's projects rather than give them a fresh project to work on. Looks like that might have been turned around by all the complaints and stuff that they are now working on their own thing. Whether it's another game or not, whether it's a new IP or not, we don't really know. But how have I been talking for 50 minutes? I only had a few things on me item, people, on my list. Anyway, I think in the end was a fantastic game. When it came out, it could have done with maybe 3 or 4 months extra work done on it because the patches kept coming. And then once it was all patched up, it was great. And I didn't, to be fair, I don't think I played it properly until it was fully patched, so I didn't really experience any issues with it. But superb in the end, a very, very good game, really, really good game. I think it also suffered from being in extremely good company. You know what I mean? It came out when you had God of War and The Last of Us and 2 and all that sort of stuff kind of coming around it. So to be fair to it, it had a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn, all that sort of stuff was all happening around it as well. So it was in extremely good company. So, no, I'd like to see another one, but if it doesn't come, I'm not going to be that disappointed. But I'd still like to see Bend make another game of another IP. Be good to see it. I don't think there was anything else in that article, was there? Very, very, very briefly, there was also I started seeing Path of Exile 2. There seemed to be some sort of Path of Exile 2 event through this week or last week, I can't remember, but there's a lot of videos that seem to have just appeared. And to be fair, I spent a lot of time in the Path of Exile world. And did I do it on both consoles? I think I did. I think I did it a bit on both consoles. Because I did it on the Xbox. Yeah, I didn't do a huge amount of it on the PlayStation, but I did a lot of it on the Xbox. I think that's what happened. I just tried it on both. But anyway, I think I eventually gave up on it because it's got the biggest skill tree you've ever seen in your life, and trying to follow it is just ridiculous. And then when the season ended, it took all of the points that I'd spent out of the table and was like, put them all back in again. And I was like, I can't even, where do you start with that? I couldn't even begin to tell you how to put all that stuff back to match all of the armour and stuff that I'd managed to sort out for. I mean, it was just madness. I don't know why that happens. But anyway, that's what put me off going back to it. It happened twice to me. And I then stopped. I recorded loads of it on the channel. So the very first one I tried, I was more of a warrior type. And then the one that I did later, I was sort of a bit more of a cleric sort of character. I think bit of magic, bit of whatever. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really good. It's free to play, but I spent a bit of money on stuff for it. So I'm looking forward to that. It'd be good to see. I think I won't dip into the world of Path of Exile again. I think I'll just wait for Path of Exile 2 and try it out. Hopefully I can carry across some of the stuff that I purchased. Maybe not. But it was exciting to see it anyway. And then we're already talking about a new Diablo, and we're talking about Diablo 2 remake and, or remaster as it is. Reworked, remastered, whatever. So there you are. Actually, I'm saying I've been talking for 50 minutes, but I think it was it started recording about 4 minutes before I spoke. I often turn the camera on, turn that on, get myself prepped up. By the time I actually start saying anything, we've recorded 4 minutes. So I think we're probably on around, there's a guesstimate, around 48 minutes. Let's see how close I was. I'm going to say 47 minutes. Changed my mind. Well, there you are, folks. I think if I keep rambling any longer, it'll just, it won't be worth listening to, people. It won't. I think the sun is still out. I think I shall dib into a second one of these while I twiddle about in the garden. Maybe just refill some bird feeders and water down the grass. Well, part of the grass actually had been decimated by moss. So I've had to put grass seeds down, but I only watered them the once, so I could do with getting the hose out and just giving them a bit of a spray. So I might do that before I start editing this together. Or I might do the editing first and then do that when the sun's gone down, which might be wiser. But you didn't need to hear all of that, people, did you? There you are. That's all I've got to talk about, people. Flaggins up to you all. If you hadn't got one of these while you've been watching me, then I don't know what is that all about. Go and get yourself one now, rewind it, and do it with a drink. As long as it's not daytime, people, you know what I mean? So wait till beer o'clock. There you are, people. It has been an honour. There was a big pause there. Did you notice that? My brain kind of went, am I saying flaggins up or am I... What am I doing? I'll have another sip while you're there. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog of mine today, and I shall see you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.